In the heart of suburban Ohio, where maple-lined streets stretched under the glow of sodium lamps and every driveway held a minivan or a pickup, lived 16-year-old Ethan Harper. Willow Creek was the kind of town where high school football reigned supreme on Friday nights, and the biggest drama usually revolved around who made varsity cheer or whose parents were divorcing over the country club membership. Ethan was a junior at Willow Creek High, the lanky kid with tousled brown hair, freckles across his nose, and a perpetual half-smile that made teachers label him charmingly distracted. He played JV soccer, not star material, but good enough to get high fives from the upperclassmen, and spent his afternoons tinkering with his beat-up Honda Civic in the garage, dreaming of the open road after graduation. Across the cul-de-sac lived Mia Rodriguez, also 16, with long dark curls that cascaded like a waterfall when she let them loose from her ponytail, and eyes the color of autumn leaves, hazel flecked with gold. Mia was the new girl, having moved from Chicago the summer before sophomore year when her dad landed a job at the local aerospace firm. She was whip-smart, acing AP biology without breaking a sweat, and had this quiet intensity that drew people in. She volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends, posting adorable puppy pics on her Instagram, and blasted Taylor Swift in her room while doodling intricate mandalas in her sketchbook. Her family was tight-knit, mom a nurse, dad an engineer, little brother Luis always begging for rides to his Little League games. They grilled out on the patio every Sunday, the smell of carne asada wafting through the neighborhood. Ethan and Mia's worlds collided in the most ordinary way, homeroom. They were assigned seats alphabetically, Harper next to Rodriguez, and what started as borrowed pencils and shared eye rolls over Mr. Jenkins' droning lectures on the Civil War turned into something electric. It was October, leaves crunching underfoot as the first chill hit the air, when Ethan first noticed her laugh. They were paired for a group project on local history, researching Willow Creek's old mill that had burned down in the 50s. Mia showed up at the library after school in her oversized hoodie and jeans, smelling faintly of vanilla from whatever lotion she used. "Okay, Harper," she teased, flipping open her laptop, "don't tell me you're one of those guys who thinks history is just memorizing dates." He grinned, leaning back in his chair. "Nah, but if it involves ghosts from that mill fire, I'm in." They bantered for hours, poring over dusty archives and grainy photos. Ethan found himself stealing glances at the way her brow furrowed in concentration, how she'd bite her lower lip when thinking. By the time the library closed, they'd nailed the outline and grabbed Slurpees from the 7-Eleven across the street. Walking home under the streetlights, their hands brushed accidentally, or was it? And neither pulled away. From there, it snowballed. Texts turned into late-night Snapchats, Ethan sending goofy selfies from soccer practice, Mia replying with voice notes about her dog's latest antics. They started eating lunch together in the cafeteria, claiming the corner table by the windows where the popular kids held court but didn't bother them. Ethan's best friend, Jake, ribbed him endlessly, "Dude, you're whipped already," while Mia's friend Sarah squealed over every detail. "He's cute in that boy next door way," Sarah whispered during study hall. "But don't let your dad find out. He'd ground you till college." Their parents were the wild card. Ethan's folks were classic Midwestern, dad a mechanic who coached youth baseball, mom a real estate agent always hustling open houses. They were cool with friends but drew the line at serious dating before senior year. "Focus on grades and goals, son," Dad would say over meatloaf dinners. Mia's parents were stricter, rooted in their Latino heritage, curfews at 9 p.m. on weeknights, no boys in the house unsupervised. "Mija, you're too young for distractions," her mom warned, though she softened when Mia aced her midterms. But love doesn't wait for permission slips. The first kiss happened at the homecoming dance in November, the gym transformed with twinkling lights and a DJ spinning top 40 hits. Ethan, in a rented tux that pinched at the shoulders, spotted Mia across the room in a simple red dress that hugged her curves just right. She'd snuck out with Sarah's help, telling her parents it was a girls' night. They danced awkwardly at first, Ethan stepping on her toes to shake it off, but then a slow song came on, Ed Sheeran's Perfect. He pulled her close, her head resting on his shoulder, heart pounding against his. Outside in the parking lot afterward, under a sky dusted with stars, he cupped her face. "Mia, I've been wanting to do this since that library day." Their lips met, soft, tentative, tasting like cherry lip gloss and promise. It was clumsy, noses bumping, but perfect. They pulled back breathless, giggling like idiots. That kiss ignited everything. Secret meetups followed, quick pecks behind the bleachers after school, holding hands in the back row of the movie theater during matinees of the latest Marvel flick. They'd text under desks during class, hearts racing at the risk. One Friday night in December, with snow blanketing the ground, Ethan snuck over to her house after her parents thought she was asleep. He tapped on her window like in the movies, pebbles against glass, and she cracked it open, whispering, "You're insane!" But she let him in, and they lay on her bed fully clothed, talking until dawn about dreams, him wanting to study engineering at Ohio State, her aiming for vet school. They kissed again, deeper this time, hands exploring innocently over sweaters, the thrill of secrecy making it all intoxicating. Winter break loomed, parents planning family trips, but Ethan and Mia plotted more. Little did they know, the real challenges were just beginning. Nosy neighbors, jealous exes, and the inevitable clash when worlds collided. Winter break hit Willow Creek like a freight train, 2 feet of snow overnight, schools closed, and the whole town cocooned in white. Ethan's family had planned a cabin trip up in Hocking Hills, but a busted radiator on the Suburban kept them home. Mia's parents, meanwhile, doubled down on tradition. Tamales on Christmas Eve, posadas with the cousins, and a strict, no leaving the house after dark rule once the roads iced over. For 2 kids who'd tasted forbidden fruit, the separation felt like withdrawal. They adapted. Ethan rigged an old baby monitor from the garage, left one half under Mia's window, kept the other in his room. Static-laced whispers became their lifeline. "You awake?" he'd murmur at 1:13 a.m. "Always," she'd breathe back, voice muffled by blankets. They'd talk until the batteries died, about the pressure of college apps, about how Mia's abuela kept asking when she'd bring a nice boy to Sunday dinner, about the way Ethan's mom cried during Home Alone every single year. Sometimes they didn't talk at all, they just left the monitors on, breathing in sync, pretending the 10 yards of snow between their houses didn't exist. The first real risk came on New Year's Eve. Ethan's parents hosted their annual Chilean fireworks party, neighbors trudging over with casseroles, kids setting off sparklers in the cul-de-sac. Mia's family was invited. Her dad and Ethan's coached Little League together. Mia showed up in a burgundy sweater, hair twisted up with a glittery clip, looking like she'd walked out of a Target ad. Their eyes locked across the crowded kitchen. Ethan's pulse jackhammered so hard he nearly dropped the tray of cornbread. Later, when the adults were 3 beers deep and arguing over the cotton bowl, Ethan slipped out the back door. Mia followed 2 minutes later, claiming she needed air. The snow had stopped. The world was silent except for the pop-pop-pop of distant fireworks. They met behind the detached garage, breath fogging between them. "Happy almost New Year," he whispered, pulling a cheap plastic tiara from his pocket. He'd swiped it from his little sister's dress-up bin. Mia laughed, the sound muffled against his coat as he placed it crookedly on her head. Then they were kissing, urgent and clumsy, snowflakes melting on their eyelashes. His hands slid under her sweater, just to feel the warmth of her skin above the waistband of her jeans. She gasped into his mouth. He tasted hot chocolate and the cinnamon gum she chewed when she was nervous. Headlights swept the driveway, someone's uncle arriving late. They broke apart, hearts hammering, and darted in opposite directions. Mia slipped back through the front door. Ethan circled around to the garage, pretending he'd been grabbing more wood for the fire pit. Nobody noticed. Or so they thought. January thawed into a sloppy mess, black ice, salt-crusted boots, the smell of wet dog in every hallway at school. They fell into a rhythm, quick kisses in the stairwell between 3rd and 4th period, Ethan palming Mia a note folded into a tiny football, "Meet me at the mill ruins, 3:30. The old mill was their spot now, a 10-minute bike ride past the railroad tracks, half the roof caved in, graffiti from the class of '09 fading on the brick. They'd huddle inside the loading dock, sharing earbuds and a thermos of gas station coffee, making out until their lips were swollen and their fingers numb. One Thursday the sky cracked open again, sleet this time, stinging like needles. Ethan's Civic fishtailed on the back road. He still went. Mia was already there, hood up, cheeks red. They didn't talk much. She pushed him against the cold brick, kissing him hard enough to bruise, her mittened hands fisted in his coat. When they finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. "I'm scared," she admitted, "of getting caught." "That too. But mostly, this feels too big. Like we're playing house in a war zone." He didn't have an answer. He just kissed her again, slower, like he could memorize the shape of her fear. The close call happened the following Tuesday. Mia's mom worked nights at the hospital. Her dad usually crashed early. Ethan biked over at 11:47 p.m., climbed the oak tree like he'd practiced, and tapped her window. She let him in, finger to her lips. They lay on her bed fully clothed. School rules said Jean stayed on, whispering about nothing and everything. At 12:56 a.m., headlights washed the room. Her dad, home early because a coworker covered the rest of his shift. Panic. Ethan rolled off the bed, wedging himself between the frame and the wall. Mia yanked the comforter over the dent he'd left. Footsteps on the stairs. She met her dad in the hallway, voice syrupy. "Couldn't sleep, Papa. Bad dream." He bought it, kissed her forehead, told her to drink warm milk. Door clicked shut. Ethan waited 20 agonizing minutes, then crawled out the window, heart in his throat. The next day at school, Jake cornered him by the lockers. "Dude, Mr. Rodriguez was at the shop this morning getting an oil change. Asked my dad if you'd been hanging around the house late. Said he found the side gate unlatched." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You good?" Ethan lied, said he'd been helping Luis with a science fair volcano. But the seed was planted. That night he and Mia switched to a burner app, deleted every text, agreed on a code. If either typed pineapple, it meant abort mission. They thought they were bulletproof. They weren't. February smelled like wet wool and cafeteria tater tots. Valentine's Day loomed on the calendar like a dare. Ethan had saved 3 weeks of lawn mowing money, $67 and change, for the perfect gift, a silver necklace with a tiny dog bone charm, because Mia wanted to be a vet and because the shelter had just taken in a 3-legged beagle she'd fallen hard for. He hid the velvet box in the glove compartment of the Civic, wrapped in a Wendy's napkin so his mom wouldn't find it during her weekly vacuuming crusade. Mia, meanwhile, was drowning. Her parents had scheduled a family meeting after report cards came out. She'd pulled a B+ in pre-calc, her first non-A since middle school, and her dad treated it like a felony. "You're distracted, Mija. Boys, phones, whatever it is, it stops now." They took her phone for the week, replaced it with a flip phone that only called home or 911. No Snapchat, no burner app, no Ethan. She wrote him notes on graph paper scraps and slipped them into his calculus textbook when the teacher wasn't looking. "I miss your stupid face." Library at 2:45. Bring caffeine. They met in the stacks, behind the outdated encyclopedias nobody touched. She looked wrecked, dark circles, hair in a messy knot, hoodie zipped to her chin. Ethan handed her a contraband Dr. Pepper. She chugged half, then leaned her head on his shoulder. "My dad's talking boarding school," she whispered. "Some Catholic place in Cincinnati. Says the public school here is too permissive." Ethan's stomach dropped. "He can't. You're 16. Tell that to the brochure on the kitchen counter." They didn't kiss. They just sat there, knees touching, the weight of maybe losing this pressing down like the low gray sky outside. The necklace stayed in the glove box. That Friday the school hosted a winter semi-formal, cheaper than prom, held in the cafeteria with paper snowflakes and a playlist heavy on early 2000s nostalgia. Ethan's mom dropped him off, Mia's dad drove her, walked her to the door, and told the chaperones, out loud, to keep an eye on her. She wore a black dress with tiny white polka dots, sleeves long enough to hide the goosebumps of dread. Ethan waited by the punch bowl, tie already crooked. They danced once, to "Hey There Delilah," arms barely around each other, aware of Mr. Rodriguez's eyes from the folding chair perimeter. When the song ended, Mia's dad materialized. "Time to go, Mija. Snow's coming." She didn't argue. Ethan watched them leave, the necklace burning a hole in his pocket. The next week was torture. Mia's flip phone meant radio silence. Ethan biked past her house at night, saw her bedroom light on, silhouette moving behind the curtains. He left the necklace in a plastic Easter egg taped under the mailbox. Note inside, "For when you're free again." Saturday, Jake's older brother threw a house party while their parents were at a casino overnight. Word spread like mono, keg in the basement, parents' liquor cabinet unlocked, no invite needed. Ethan almost didn't go, too risky, but Mia texted from Sarah's phone, "Pick me up at 10. Back door. I'm done being grounded." He borrowed Jake's mom's minivan, parked 2 streets over. Mia slipped out in leggings and an oversized flannel, Ethan's, stolen from his gym bag weeks ago. They drove with the heat cranked, windows fogging, her bare feet on the dash. At the party they stayed in the shadows, nursing warm beers they didn't want, hands linked under the stairwell. Someone put on Drake. They slow danced in the laundry room between the washer and dryer, the thump of bass vibrating through the walls. That's when the photo happened. Some sophomore with a Snapchat addiction caught them mid-kiss, Ethan's hand on Mia's neck, her fingers curled into his hair. The flash was off, but the screen glow lit them like a crime scene. By Monday, the picture was everywhere. Caption: Guess who's getting expelled for PDA? Mia's dad saw it before first period. He pulled her out of school, voice shaking with rage. Ethan got called to the principal's office at lunch. Mr. Rodriguez had already been there, demanding consequences. The principal, a tired man who just wanted to retire, gave them both Saturday detention and a stern lecture about appropriate boundaries. Ethan's parents grounded him for a month. Mia lost the flip phone, the bedroom door, and any illusion of privacy. Her mom started doing random room checks at 10 p.m. They were radioactive. But teenagers are stupid and resilient. They found new ways. Ethan volunteered at the animal shelter on Saturdays, Mia's shift. The manager, a soft-hearted ex-hippie named Deb, let them walk dogs together as long as they stayed in sight of the kennels. They'd leash up the beagle tripod, now named Lucky, and wander the wooded trail behind the shelter. 10 minutes of freedom. They'd kiss quick behind the supply shed, tasting kibble and wet fur, then separate before Deb noticed. One afternoon in late February, the sky the color of a dirty nickel, Mia stopped on the trail. Snowdrops poked through the mud, first sign of spring. "I found the necklace," she said, pulling it from her pocket. The chain glinted against her mitten. "I can't wear it at home." He'd flip. She fastened it around her neck anyway, tucking the charm under her scarf. "But I'm keeping it." Ethan kissed her then, soft and desperate, like she might vanish. Lucky whined and tugged the leash. That night Ethan's mom found the party photo on the neighborhood Facebook group. Someone's aunt had shared it with the caption disgraceful. Grounding extended to April. Mia's parents scheduled a meeting with a school counselor to discuss influences. The cracks were widening. Rumors flew: pregnancy, false, drugs, laughable, cult involvement, thanks, Jake's smartass comment. Ethan punched a locker. Mia stopped eating lunch. But on the last day of February, something shifted. Mia's abuela flew in from El Paso for a long weekend. 82 years old, barely 5 feet tall, she took one look at Mia's hollow eyes and declared, "This girl needs sunlight and a boyfriend who brings her flowers, not ulcers." She cornered Mia's dad in the kitchen, voice low and lethal in Spanish. Ethan couldn't translate, but he saw Mr. Rodriguez's shoulders slump. The next morning Mia got her phone back. Curfew stayed strict, but the boarding school brochure disappeared from the counter. They weren't fixed. They were on probation. And spring was coming. March blew in like a slammed screen door, warm one day, sleet the next, the whole town sneezing through pollen season. Willow Creek's baseball diamond thawed into mud, and the soccer fields turned the color of split pea soup. Ethan's grounding officially lifted on the 15th, but his parents added a new rule: GPS on his phone, location shared with the family plan. "Trust but verify," his dad said, tapping the app like it was a parole ankle bracelet. Mia's parents eased up too. Phone returned, curfew pushed to 10 on weekends, but with a standing invitation for Ethan to join Sunday dinners. "If we're doing this, we're doing it in the open," Mr. Rodriguez announced, carving the roast like a decree. The first dinner was brutal. Ethan wore khakis and the one button down without a stain, hair combed for the first time since picture day. Mrs. Rodriguez set an extra place, smiled too wide. Luis, Mia's 10-year-old brother, grilled Ethan on Fortnite loadouts while passing the tortillas. Mr. Rodriguez asked pointed questions about Ethan's GPA, his 5-year plan, and whether he knew how to change a tire. Mia sat across the table, necklace hidden under her collar, kicking Ethan's shin whenever he started rambling. Dessert was flan and a silent prayer that nobody brought up the party photo. They didn't. Progress. Outside the house, spring exploded. Daffodils muscled up through the mulch, and the creek behind the high school swelled with runoff. Ethan and Mia reclaimed daylight hours, study dates at the library, real ones this time, driving with the windows down blasting Post Malone, splitting fries at the Sonic on Route 40. They held hands in public now, small rebellions. Jake pretended to gag every time he saw them, but he also started running interference, texting Coast Clear when teachers prowled the halls. The mill ruins stayed sacred, though. On a Saturday, when the air smelled like lilac and lawn-mower gas, they biked out with a blanket and a cooler of iced tea. The place had changed. Someone had spray-painted a giant sunflower on the far wall, and the floor was littered with crushed Busch Light cans from upperclassmen. They spread the blanket anyway, backs against the warm brick, legs tangled. Mia traced the constellation of freckles on Ethan's forearm. "I applied to a summer vet camp at Purdue," she said. 2 weeks in June. They take high school juniors. Ethan's heart did a weird flip. That's awesome. He meant it. He also hated it. You could come visit on weekends. It's only a 3-hour drive. Yeah. Maybe. He picked at a loose thread on the blanket. His own summer was a blank page. His dad wanted him at the shop learning transmissions, his mom pushing college tours. The idea of Mia 3 hours away, surrounded by future veterinarians who probably owned actual horses, made his stomach knot. They kissed to shut the thought up. It worked until Mia's phone buzzed, Sarah, forwarding a screenshot. Someone had started an anonymous Instagram account at W Creek T. First post, a blurry shot of Ethan and Mia at Sonic, his arm around her, caption "Guess the curfew doesn't apply to golden boys." Comments ranged from heart emojis to knife emojis to straight-up filth. Mia's thumb hovered over the screen. "Block it," Ethan said. "There'll be another one tomorrow." She wasn't wrong. By Monday, the account had 312 followers and a new post, a grainy video of them at the shelter, Ethan stealing a kiss behind the kennels. Deb, the manager, saw it, called Mia's mom out of concern. Another family meeting. This time, Ethan wasn't invited. He waited on the curb outside Mia's house until she texted come to the window. She looked wrecked, eyes puffy, necklace gone. "They're making me delete Instagram. And the shelter shifts are on hold till the camp decision." She swallowed hard. "Dad says if I go to Purdue, no phone the whole time. Just the dorm landline." Ethan felt the ground tilt. That's insane. It's bargaining. He thinks if he controls the summer, I'll reset. She laughed, bitter. "Like I'm a router." They sat in silence, foreheads touching through the screen. Somewhere down the block, a lawn mower sputtered to life. Senior prom tickets went on sale the next day. Ethan bought 2 before he could overthink it. He didn't ask in some grand gesture, no jumbotron, no skywriting. Just slipped the tickets into Mia's biology notebook with a sticky note, "Let's dance where they can't stop us." She found him at lunch, eyes shining. "Yes. But we need a plan. My dad will want to meet you at the door, take photos, the whole thing." "Let him. We'll give him the Disney version." They spent the next month choreographing normalcy. Ethan mowed the Rodriguez's lawn unasked. Mia tutored Luis in fractions. They studied for AP exams in the dining room with Mrs. Rodriguez bringing snacks every 20 minutes. Ethan's mom started calling Mia sweetheart. It should have felt like winning. Instead, it felt like walking a tightrope over a pit of alligators. The night before prom, Ethan's Civic threw a rod bearing on the way home from work. Metal on metal screech, smoke pouring from under the hood. His dad towed it to the shop, no chance of fixing it before tomorrow. Ethan stared at the carcass of his car and felt the universe laughing. Jake offered his mom's minivan again, but she'd already promised it to his sister for a graduation thing. Sarah's older cousin had a Camaro, but he was in Columbus for the weekend. Ethan was stranded. He biked to Mia's at dusk, helmet dangling from the handlebars. She met him on the porch, prom dress hidden under a hoodie. "We'll figure it out," she said, but her voice cracked. Mr. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. "Problem," Ethan explained. The man studied him for a long beat, then sighed. "I'll drive you both. Pick you up at 11 sharp. No extensions." It wasn't ideal, but it was a lifeline. Ethan nodded. "Thank you, sir." Prom night was surreal. The gym smelled like hairspray and teenage panic. Mia's dress was emerald green, off the shoulder, the necklace finally out in the open. They posed for the mandated photos on her front steps, Mr. Rodriguez adjusting Ethan's tie like he was sending him to war. The ride to school was silent except for the click of the turn signal. Inside, The DJ spun throwbacks and new bangers. Ethan and Mia danced until their shoes squeaked. During Sweet Caroline, the entire junior class linked arms, Mia's head on Ethan's shoulder, his chin in her hair. For 3 hours the tightrope disappeared. At 10:57 p.m. Mr. Rodriguez texted, "Outside." They had 4 minutes. One last slow song, some Sam Hunt ballad about front porches. Ethan held her close. "Whatever happens this summer," he said, "we're not done." She nodded against his chest. "Not even close." They walked out hand in hand. The parking lot glittered with leftover confetti. Mr. Rodriguez leaned against the SUV, arms crossed, but his face softened when he saw Mia's smile. In the back seat on the way home, Mia slipped her hand into Ethan's. He squeezed once. The necklace caught the streetlights, flashing like a signal. Summer was coming. So were choices. June arrived sticky and loud, cicadas screaming from every maple, the creek behind the high school reduced to a trickle of brown water. Ethan's Civic sat on cinder blocks in his dad's shop, engine half disassembled like a science project gone wrong. He spent mornings elbow-deep in grease, afternoons pressure-washing the shop bay, evenings staring at the ceiling fan wondering how many more days until Mia left for Purdue. She shipped out on the 23rd. Her parents drove her the 3 hours to West Lafayette, a duffel of scrubs and a suitcase of nerves. No phone, just a prepaid calling card and the dorm's landline number taped inside Ethan's wallet. They'd agreed on Tuesdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. sharp. The first call came from a payphone in the vet med lobby, her voice tinny, background noise of flip-flops and someone yelling about lost keys. "It smells like hay and formaldehyde," she laughed. "I love it." Ethan pressed the receiver to his ear like he could crawl through it. "Tell me everything." She did. The cadaver lab where the horse heart was the size of a basketball, the goat that head-butted a professor, the upperclassman who played guitar on the quad at midnight. She sounded alive in a way Willow Creek had never let her. Ethan hated how much he loved it. Back home, the days blurred. He worked double shifts to save for a new engine, hung out with Jake at the quarry swimming hole, dodged his mom's questions about that nice Rodriguez girl. The @W Creek T account went dark after prom. Someone's mom threatened lawsuits, but the damage lingered. Girls at the gas station gave him side-eye. Luis told him the neighbors still whispered when he mowed their lawn. July 4th, the town threw its annual festival, carnival rides in the Meyer parking lot, fireworks over the reservoir. Ethan's parents dragged him along for family bonding. He wore the same red hoodie Mia had stolen and returned, sleeves frayed from her nervous chewing. At dusk he slipped away to the payphone outside the VFW hall, quarters hot in his palm. Mia picked up on the second ring. "They're letting us scrub in on a spay tomorrow," she whispered, excited. "I might throw up." "You'll be fine." He fed another quarter. "Wish I could see you in scrubs. Wish you could see me, period." A pause. "I miss your face, Hopper." Fireworks started, red, white, blue blooms reflecting in the glass. Ethan closed his eyes. 2 more weeks. The calls got harder. Tuesdays she was exhausted from 6 a.m. barn chores. Sundays he was sunburned and cranky from 12-hour shop days. They fought about nothing, her new lab partner who got all the good surgeries, the way Ethan's voice went flat when she talked about staying an extra week for a research elective. Once she cried because a calf died and she couldn't tell anyone but him. He wanted to punch through the phone line and hold her. August crept in, humid and merciless. Ethan's dad surprised him with a rebuilt engine. Used, but running. The Civic roared back to life on a Friday, same week Mia's camp ended. She was due home Sunday. Ethan planned to drive up Saturday, surprise her at the dorm, take her to dinner somewhere with air conditioning and no goats. Friday night he washed the car twice, vacuumed dog hair from the shelter out of the seats, hid a bouquet of gas station daisies behind the spare tire. He texted Jake, "Cover for me if my mom asks." Jake replied with a salute emoji and a middle finger. Saturday morning, 5:47 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mia's voice, shaky. "Ethan, I need you to come get me. Now." He was on the road by 6, coffee sloshing in the cup holder, daisies wilting. The drive took 2 hours and 53 minutes. He counted every one. He found her on the curb outside the vet dorm, suitcase beside her, face blotchy from crying. No scrubs, just cut-off shorts and the necklace glinting against her collarbone. "What happened?" he asked, killing the engine. She climbed in, slammed the door. "I got kicked out." Turns out the research elective required an extra week of overnight shifts. Mia had begged to stay, promised to call home daily. Her dad said no, final. When she pushed, he drove up that morning, caused a scene in the dean's office, accused the program of brainwashing her. Security escorted him out. Mia chose to leave with him rather than let it escalate. The camp director, sympathetic but firm, revoked her spot for the final project. 2 weeks of work, gone. The ride home was quiet except for the hum of tires and Mia shredding a Kleenex into snow. At the county line, she finally spoke. "I'm done fighting him. I'll finish high school here, apply to state schools, live at home. It's easier." Ethan's knuckles went white on the wheel. "That's not you. It's survival." She looked at him, eyes red. "You think I want this?" They stopped at a rest area outside Dayton. Ethan bought vending machine snacks neither of them ate. In the shade of a picnic table, he took her hands. "Run away with me," he said, half joking, half not. "We've got 2 tanks of gas and $60. She laughed. "Watery. And sleep where?" "Your back seat." "I'm serious. We're 18 in a year. We could." "Could what?" "Live on Love and Sonic coupons." She pulled away. "My dad would call the cops. Your parents would disown you. We'd be a cautionary tale by homecoming." He wanted to argue, but the fight leaked out of him. She was right. They were still kids with curfews and college funds tied to parental approval. They drove the rest of the way in silence. Willow Creek welcomed them with a sunburned sky and the smell of charcoal grills. Ethan pulled into Mia's driveway. Her dad waited on the porch, arms crossed, face unreadable. Mia grabbed her suitcase. At the car door she paused. "I need space, Ethan. A week. Maybe more. Just let me breathe." He nodded, throat tight. She kissed his cheek, dry, final, and walked inside without looking back. That night Ethan sat in the idling Civic, daisies crushed on the passenger seat. The necklace was still around her neck. He'd seen it flash when she turned. Small mercies. Summer wasn't over, but something inside him was. August melted into September, the kind of slow bleed where the air turns crisp overnight and suddenly every porch light feels nostalgic. Ethan's Civic stayed parked in the driveway, keys on the hook by the door. He told himself it was for the new tires he couldn't afford yet, but the truth was simpler. He didn't want to drive past Mia's house and see her bedroom curtains closed. She'd asked for space. He gave it in spades. No texts, no drive-bys, no accidental shelter visits. At school they moved like planets in separate orbits. Ethan in the auto shop wing, grease under his nails and classic rock in his earbuds. Mia in AP Chem, hair twisted up with a mechanical pencil, eyes fixed on the periodic table like it held answers. They passed in the hall once, her books clutched to her chest, his hands shoved deep in his hoodie pockets. She offered a small nod. He returned it. That was it. Jake tried. "Dude, you're a zombie. Talk to her." Ethan shrugged, changed the subject to carburetors. Sarah cornered Mia in the bathroom. "He looks like hell." Mia washed her hands too long, said nothing. The necklace stayed in her jewelry box. She told herself it was safer there. October brought the county fair, cotton candy clouds, the Ferris wheel creaking against a harvest moon. Ethan's parents dragged him for the demolition derby. Mia's dad entered his restored '72 Chevelle in the car show. They arrived separately, left separately, but the midway was a minefield. Ethan smelled her vanilla lotion before he saw her, standing by the ring toss booth with Luis, who was begging for one more throw. She wore a denim jacket, sleeves rolled, the dog bone charm finally back around her neck on a longer chain that tucked into her shirt. Their eyes locked across the sawdust. Luis spotted Ethan, waved wildly. "Yo, Harper. Watch this." He chucked a ring, missed by a mile. Mia laughed, real, unguarded, and something in Ethan's chest unclenched. He crossed the distance. "Hey. Hey." Her voice was soft, careful. Luis, oblivious, ran off to find friends. They stood in the bubble of carnival noise, generators humming, teenagers screaming on the tilt-a-whirl. "I'm sorry," she said first. "I shut down. It wasn't fair. I gave you the space you asked for. Maybe too much." She shook her head. "I needed to figure out who I was without the war at home. Turns out I'm still me. Just quieter." Ethan kicked at the dirt. "Your dad still hate me?" "He doesn't hate you. He hates losing control. There's a difference." She pulled the necklace out, let the charm catch the colored lights. Mom made him go to a parent support group at church. They talk about launching kids. He lasted 3 sessions before he admitted, "Maybe I'm not a helicopter project." Ethan huffed a laugh. Progress. They walked without deciding to, past the funnel cake stand, the livestock barns, the 4-H kids asleep on hay bales. The air smelled like kettle corn and diesel. At the edge of the grounds, away from the crowds, Mia stopped under a string of bare bulbs. "I'm applying to Ohio State's pre-vet program," she said. "Early decision. If I get in, I'll commute freshman year. Dad's condition, 3.5 GPA, no debt, and I keep working at the shelter. He'll even co-sign the loan." Ethan's pulse stuttered. "That's huge. It's a compromise. Not perfect, but it's mine." She met his eyes. "I missed you. Every day. I wrote you letters I never sent. They're in a shoebox under my bed like some cliché. I rebuilt the Civic's carb 3 times because I couldn't sit still." He reached for her hand, tentative. She let him take it. Her fingers were cold. His were warm from nerves. "I don't want to sneak around anymore," she said. "No mill ruins, no baby monitors. If we do this, we do it in daylight. Dinners, movie theaters, your mom's meatloaf. All of it. Deal." He squeezed once. "But I'm still kissing you behind the bleachers on game nights. Tradition." She smiled, small, real, the one that started everything. Some traditions are worth keeping. They didn't kiss yet. Instead they walked back to the midway, found their families. Ethan's mom spotted the joined hands, raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Mr. Rodriguez watched from the Chevelle's hood, arms crossed, but when Mia waved him over he came. Awkward introductions turned into shared fried pickles. Luis challenged Ethan to the basketball hoop game and lost spectacularly. Somewhere between the second and third throw, Mr. Rodriguez clapped Ethan on the shoulder, hard enough to stagger him, and muttered, "You hurt her, I hurt you. Capice?" Ethan nodded. Message received. Later, on the Ferris wheel, because Luis begged, they ended up alone in a swaying car, the fare shrinking below them. Mia leaned into Ethan's side, the necklace warm against his wrist where her head rested. "Senior year," she said. "Then college. Then the world." He kissed the top of her head. One lap at a time. The wheel creaked to the top, paused. Fireworks for the Derby winners lit the sky. Gold, green, a heart-shaped burst that felt cheesy and perfect. Ethan tilted her chin, kissed her properly this time. No rushing, no hiding, just the taste of powdered sugar and the promise of daylight. Below, their families watched the show, oblivious or pretending to be. Willow Creek spun on, maple leaves turning, football season ramping up, 2 kids at the top of the world figuring out how to land without crashing. They would fight again. Parents would overstep, college would loom, life would throw curveballs. But the secret nights were over. What started with tapped windows and whispered codes had grown roots in Sunday dinners and shared Google calendars. Love, it turned out, didn't need darkness to burn. Sometimes all it needed was a clear sky and 2 hands that refused to let go.